Hello guys, welcome to episode number 2 here in season 3 of Behind the Brew. As you can see, we are in the beautiful town of Ridgefield, Washington. Our first ever show in Washington State.
Very exciting,
yes.
exciting.
Dave, this is really cool. We've been looking forward to this one for a while, and I'm glad that it all came together. Some quick history on Ridgefield. It was founded in 1909.
Wow.
Right here outside, just outside of Portland, just across the border from Oregon, here in the northwest corner of Washington State. So it's very cool. Like I said, this is my first time being here. Dave's been here in the city a couple times. But yeah, we're very excited to be here today. So if you haven't checked out Ridgefield yet, stay tuned. You're going to get to see some of the town, get to see some of the attractions here. But most of all, you're going to get to see where to go to get a good beer.
Yes, you are.
Dave, let's go find out where we're going.
Let's do this. Well, Justin, it is very exciting to be here today.
So excited.
This has been 2 years in the making. I discovered this place a couple years ago, coming up here for concerts and stuff. It's like, man, this place is adorable. This is one of the coolest, little tap rooms I've ever seen. Their beer matches its phenomenal beer. So we are here today in Ridgefield, Washington, to get the behind the brew story of Ridgefield Brewing. Let's go check it out.
Let's go. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys at the brewery. Hey, welcome everybody to Behind the Brew, episode number 2 of 2024. Very excited to be out here in Ridgefield, Washington, man. Our first ever video in Washington.
It is.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Our fourth state, dude. This is our fourth state. Behind the Brew episode.
Right. We're moving all right along. Pretty soon we got to get to Idaho, California. We're moving our way around. Hey, thank you, Steve, for joining us. Guys, this is Steve. He's the owner, brewer, everything here at Ridgefield. Thank you for making time to sit down with us and tell us all about your brewery.
Yep.
Before we move on, guys, remember, subscribe, like, and let us know if you stopped by Ridgefield Brewing. And if you have, what's your favorite beer? And if not, hey, stay tuned. You're going to get to hear the whole story about Ridgefield Brewing. All right, so we kind of, you guys are going to hear a lot more about Steve's background here in a little bit. So stay tuned for the next segment of the show. But let's go ahead and get right into Ridgefield Brewing itself. When did Ridgefield Brewing become Ridgefield Brewing?
We got the business off and running in 2019, late part of 2019. We built the brewery. It took about a year and a half to build the brewery.
Okay.
We commissioned it in August of 2019 and started rolling out our first kegs around September, mid-September.
Wow.
And we've been doing it ever since. The tap house here, we didn't have the tap house at first. We just did production, self-distribution for the first 6 months. And then we struck a deal on this space in early 2020, pre-COVID, and signed the deal on that. And then basically had to ride through 3 years of a pandemic, but we're on the outside of it now, and we're still here. So we learned a lot.
Yeah, so you guys started right before.
We've heard this a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, right before. How are you guys able to maneuver through the whole pandemic thing, the lockdowns?
Yeah.
How is a business like yours able to, how are you guys able to kind of get through that and still be around today?
Yeah, we fortunately, when we took over the space here, we invested a lot into the outdoor space. Into the patio, and there wasn't really a whole lot of outdoor space to start with, but we created a nice concreted, shaded, covered area outside, for customers to enjoy. So we were open. We literally opened the doors on July 29th of 2020.
Oh, my birthday. That's really cool.
Awesome. We had one day indoor seating, outdoor, whatever, and then the very next day was when the governor shut down all indoor seating in bars and restaurants. So we had one day of indoor seating, but fortunately, like I said, we had the outdoor space.
This already going.
We had tons of tables and seating outside, so we just had to make sure, obviously, that the spacing and everything was right on those. We were able to ride through that first summer with that, and then, off and on indoor seating because they kind of did it and then took it away again and whatever. But so we limped through that first year, and then we just kind of figured out how to do it. Which, that wasn't part of our original business plan, was to figure out how to navigate through a pandemic. But we learned how. So hey, you know what?
Not on anybody's plan,
right? So bring on the pandemic. We can handle it again now. We know how to do it now.
You're pros.
It sounds like you guys did great with it.
Yeah, we did great. It was a challenge, as it was for everybody. But with all the support down here, the customers and all the city support, we were able to do it. Get through
Cool.
it, so.
Cool. Let's say a story behind the name of this. Okay, well, ask, where did the name come from?
The name Ridgefield. So Ridgefield Craft Brewing. So we wanted our brand to. Initially, I wanted the brand to be all about my family name, and we decided that's what we would use for our actual entity name. Then we did a DBA, Ridgefield Craft Brewing. We just wanted to because we're a part of the Ridgefield community, we wanted to make sure that our brand represented our community, and we want to make sure that we could establish and make something here in Ridgefield that the locals and the community members here could be proud of. Like, hey, that's our brewery. That's, we know that place, Ridgefield Craft Brewing. We're from Ridgefield, so it's more about just more of a local pride thing. We wanted to create something, the name that would represent this area specifically. I didn't grow up here in Ridgefield, but I've lived here now for about 10 years. I grew up close by.
Okay.
And I've always thought Ridgefield is just a great spot.
It
is.
It is.
And so naming the brewery, naming the business Ridgefield Craft Brewing was a pretty easy thing to do.
And I can see that. I can see that tie here with your local community and just the whole vibe of this place. It's great. Ridgefield is a really neat town, and I love what you guys are doing here, and your connection with the community here is great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's not too far off Interstate 5, which is pretty cool because you guys are just outside of like the Portland metropolitan area, Vancouver. Like you're right outside of all the major cities. And as you guys see in the intro, just a nice, quiet little town, just kind of nestled on a hill. Really cool little community spot. And I love these little towns like this. It feels real homey.
It does.
You can walk up and down.
You don't feel like you're in a metropolitan area.
No, you don't.
I mean, like I said, the first vibes I got whenever I came into town of Ridgefield was very coastal, like a small coastal town.
Yeah, it feels that way.
That was the vibes I got.
Yeah.
Immediately, I absolutely loved it here.
It's a great spot. Great place.
Beautiful spot. So make it out here if you're in the area or if you're passing through. Just come on by and check out the little town.
Yes.
Really cool little spot here. How many beers do you keep on tap?
Here at the tap house, we've got 12 taps. We like to keep 3 of those set aside for ciders, and we feature a lot of local cider. We try to keep it as local as possible on our guest taps. We actually used to have guest beer taps as well.
Okay.
When we first opened, we'd have 1 or 2, and then feature some of our partner North Bank brewers here in Southwest Washington. But now we have 9 of our own beers on tap. That we pretty much keep regularly.
Nice.
We rotate. I would say 6 or 7 of those are staples that are the same, and then we rotate the other 3 through seasonals and stuff like that. So
very cool. Yeah, seasonal.
Which answers the next question.
Yeah. How many seasonal beers do you guys have?
Right now, we just released a golden ale not too long ago. That was kind of a spring seasonal that we wanted to get out. Never done a golden before, and I've always wanted to. So we went ahead and went for it this year. We also did late winter back in late January. We released a Schwarzbier, German Schwarzbier, which is basically a dark lager. So we still have that one on. We're probably getting ready to pull that one off going into springtime. It's getting to be out of the season for that type of beer. I think that's all we have for right now for the seasonal stuff. The golden ale, we're hoping that it takes off. We make that not just a seasonal, but maybe add that to our arsenal of staple beers. Ultimately, we'd like to do that, but we'll see how that goes. yeah, we'll be introducing a few new beers coming up here in the next couple months too.
Very cool.
Sounds great.
Exciting.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Can bottling. We do that here at Ridgefield.
Yep, we do canning. We've never done bottling, and we probably never will. But we do can. We can 16-ounce 4-packs of our amber, New World Order IPA, the Norse Code Hazy, the Straight Up Lager, and then occasionally we do a seasonal canning run. We did our porter one time in the fall. We did a Mango Session IPA last spring for a short run. But you should be able to find those 4 core beers in stores pretty much anytime.
Okay.
And then a lot of times we have them here, depending on availability and what we have in stock, we'll have them here at the tap house also for customers to come in.
So
and
you got
purchase.
any distribution in line? Or?
Distribution?
Yeah, what's that
What
look
do you guys
like?
do for
for you?
distribution?
Yeah, so distribution, we do. So we started out self-distributing, like I said. We still do self-distribute up in the Seattle-Tacoma area.
Okay.
Nice.
So Ariana and I, we drive up there once a month, and we have a handful of great customers up there that keep our beer on tap. So we keep that flowing up there.
Sweet.
Down here in Southwest Washington, we use Craig Stein Beverage.
Okay.
So they distribute both draft and cans for us. And then down in Oregon, we use Point Blank Distributing, and they also distribute cans and draft down there. So and they cover all of the Bend, Eugene, Portland territories,
And Roseburg.
and Roseburg
Yeah,
territories.
we get some
Yeah.
beer stuff down there.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see. How much beer do you guys typically produce per year?
Annual. It started out a lot higher than it ended up through the pandemic, but I would say on average over the past 4 years since we've been in business, we hit somewhere between 700 and 1,000 barrels a year.
Nice. Pretty good.
Small, we're small.
Yeah.
There's no question there. And in terms of like future expansion and where we want to be, right now we're focused on just creating quality beer and maintaining a consistent beer.
Yeah.
So increasing production, sure it'll ultimately happen, but we're not pushing that.
Yeah,
really.
baby steps.
We want to take it slow
don't
and just,
overdo it.
and just make sure we know which beers we need to really focus on, what areas that we're good at, we're really good at, versus other areas that we might not be so good at.
Yeah.
And that'll determine our future pace, our future production pace.
Yeah, it's a good
Right on.
plan. How is your beer connected to the local area?
So yeah, our beer, the original naming process for our beers, we came up with some names that we thought would be tied to our community, to the area, to the Ridgefield area. Our porter, our staple porter, it's called Plank House Porter. We actually have a plank house down at our North Wildlife Refuge down there.
Yeah, I saw the sign
we
for
drove
that.
right by that.
Yeah, we saw the
this
sign
is
for
really,
that.
we're gonna have to stop by there. If I bring my kids up here, that'd be cool.
One of our first beers we released was called Pioneer Pale. The main road that comes into downtown from the freeway is called Pioneer. So things like that, we try to tie in some of our beer naming to the local area here. We don't do that as much as we used to, but we kind of take our beer naming now to a different level where we feed off of customer feedback and other things to help us with our naming. But yeah, the beer, styling a beer around a community and around a territory is kind of hard to do because, there's certain styles of beer you have to stick with. But the naming really initially started off with trying to focus on this area specifically.
Right on.
And I think the community appreciated that. I don't know that Ridgefield has ever had a company come in and do something like that where they're naming their products after
Probably not.
the community itself. So we felt pretty proud to do that, and we'll continue to do it when we can.
That's really cool.
Hey, we're still waiting for a Beverage Hunters beer.
I know. We gotta team up with somebody. One day.
One day.
We got some good connections.
Yes, we do. We know a few.
So
Where do you see the brewery in the future? What's your guys' future look like for Ridgefield?
expansion-wise, we can handle maybe double of what we're doing now in terms of production. Right now, what we're doing at the brewery itself is it's just myself and Ariana that do all the work out there. We don't have any employees that work in the brewery.
Yeah.
Two of us do all the production. We do that self-distribution channel up into the Seattle-Tacoma area. Canning days, we bring in friends and family like to come out on canning days and help out.
Right on.
But 99% of the production is done just by the two of us.
Nice.
When we get to a point, which it will happen down the road, where our production needs are exceeding what we can handle, we'll bring in more people. But we're really not in a hurry to do that. So
Okay.
expansion-wise,
that's good. That's healthy.
Yeah.
expansion-wise, like I could see us being, between 1,000 and 1,500 barrels a year, maybe within the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And then we can decide then if we want to continue to increase the size of our market, or if we're happy with just kind of maintaining where we're at. In terms of retail, downtown here we've got the tap house. We'll always have the tap house. We love it down here. This is our home. This is our spot. We put a lot of time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into this space specifically. We do have some other opportunities on the horizon down here in downtown that we're looking at. Working with the Port of Ridgefield. They have some property that we're talking with them about doing something with. So there might be something fun that you'll hear about here within the next 6 months to a year.
Right on. All right.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to their social media and their website, all posted down below in the description area. So go ahead and follow them all and come out and check them out.
Okay. What do you enjoy most about running a brewery?
That's a tough question. There's a lot of things I love about it. One of my biggest things, and this is kind of funny, and my fellow brewers out there are going to laugh at me when I say this, but one of the biggest things, the biggest turn-ons for me with the whole brewing industry back in the day before I had a brewery, was going into a brewery and all the shiny metal, all the stainless steel. That really, really did it for me. I don't know what it is about that, but just being around that, and then of course the smell of beer in a brewery. It just really fed my passion for making beer, which then was just on a homeowner level or a home brewer level.
Yeah.
5-gallon batches at the time there. So I think the favorite part of being a brewery owner and actually brewing is just that. Just how cool it is, I guess, and
true.
Beer is fun. Beer making is fun. People that aren't even interested in making beer, they still want to know about it. They want to know how it's done, and so we're constantly taking people out to the brewery and showing them around. And
I guess.
That's why we started the channel, because we were very intrigued. We love
I know what you're saying. Every time I go to Newport, I always love going into Rogue and walking through everything.
Oh, it's great.
Just to get in, it's like,
Just seeing all
and the
the
smell. Like
yes.
everybody with me is like, oh, this place stinks. Like, no, it smells so good. And the big shiny tanks.
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying.
And then the business itself too. It's like making beer and then having a product that customers can come in and enjoy. We touched on this a little bit ago too, about being able to see customers enjoy that, laughing, having fun, and enjoying something that you put a lot of work into creating, and seeing it in a glass, and now it's being enjoyed. It's pretty satisfying. It's pretty rewarding.
I can imagine. I love that too. All right, if you could tell a new startup brewery a bit of advice, what would that be?
Be patient. Don't rush in. Take your time. Plan it out. Make sure you have all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted. There's so many things that I tried to take my time and do it right. I had a lot of help, a lot of mentors, a lot of consultation, which I'm glad I did. But I could see myself having gone into it a little differently if I didn't have that support through mentorship or consultation. Homebrewers, you might feel like you know everything there is to know about making beer. Business is a whole different story. As you know. But patience and just taking your time and just making sure that you have everything, that you're educated on everything before you really dive in. It's a big expense to start a brewery.
Oh, there is.
Depending on the size of brewery you want to start, obviously is going to determine that exactly. But when you're investing a lot of money into something that is your passion, which I think a lot of people that go into the brewing industry or cider or winery or whatever, it's more of a passionate thing. It's a labor of love thing. And so don't let that passion and that love get in the way of really doing your research and taking your time to to take every step you need to before you dive in all the way.
Be patient, go slow.
Yep.
Be careful.
Yep. And even making the beer too. The first few batches that you make, don't rush it. I know it's so hard. You want to get it into kegs and start drinking it, but man, you got to take your time. And
it takes time.
Let it do its thing. Let it finish. So
That's awesome advice, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Dave, do you have anything else off the cuff you want to ask?
I think we covered pretty much everything.
I think that about does it for this part.
Other than come check out Ridgefield, Washington, and come to Ridgefield Brewery.
Yeah,
Tell Beverage Hunters sent you.
This is a great spot. Awesome little town. Come by, check it out, and man, we're about to go over to the brewery now and talk with Steve some more over there. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna get to see where the beer is made. So
awesome.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned, and like we said, drink local and like and subscribe. See you guys later.
Later.
All right, guys, welcome to the Behind the Brew series here on Beverage Hunters. We are at Ridgefield Brewing. This is the brewery side of Ridgefield. Thanks, Steve, for having us over here.
You're welcome.
Really excited to learn some cool history about your guys' brewery and the beer itself. All right, guys, before we get going, make sure you're subscribed and leave a like on the video. Let us know if you've stopped by Ridgefield or if you've tried any of their beer here. It'd be really cool. What's your favorite beer from Ridgefield Brewing? First off, Steve, let's go ahead and get to know you a little bit. Tell us about yourself. What's some of your background?
My background. Well, I actually come from a background of construction. I was in construction for 28 years before I just decided to dive into brewing. Always did a little home brewing as kind of a hobby, passion thing. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I just decided to hang up my construction belt and put on my brewing belt, I guess you'd say.
Something a little more fun.
Just something a little more fun, yeah. We had an opportunity to, out here in Ridgefield, we had property. We had an opportunity to build the brewery right here on our property. So, nice. Which definitely shortened my commute time to get to work.
Very helpful.
Sure. His house is literally right over there. You can just walk out in the morning and go start brewing.
So, construction to brewing, and just always been a passion. I have a little bit of beer in my bloodline from my grandparents and stuff, so it's just something I've always wanted to do.
Right on. Now, where do you get your inspiration at for creating different beers and different recipes?
Ultimately, when we first started, it was all about just getting some staple beers out there, the core beers, the amber, the lager, the New World Order. So, those were, in terms of inspiration, I don't know that there was a whole lot of inspiration needed there. We just knew we needed to have that.
Yeah.
As we moved on and realized that we got to start bringing in some specialty stuff, some one-offs. Really, it was friends and neighbors and people down at the tap house would come in and tell stories, and these stories would kind of spark something in our minds, in our head, and we'd be like, well, we should make a beer focused around that. One example would be we made a beer called Blueberry Stash. It was a blonde ale that we put blueberries in. And the reason we called it Blueberry Stash was because our friend and one of our bartenders actually that works for us down at the tap house, he's got one of those mustaches, the big long, I don't know what you call that, but it's one of those mustaches. And we just decided it'd be fun to name a beer after him, and we couldn't come up with the name for this blueberry blonde beer. Up until that point, we thought. So then we had some other friends that do our creative work, our graphic work and stuff for us, and they came up with this really cool little flyer with a picture of Jake riding a blueberry like a cartoon blueberry with his mustache completely exaggerated. So anyway, just inspiration, things like that we just stories that we hear, or family members that maybe we want to dedicate something to, or friends that we want to dedicate something to, and beer's an easy thing to dedicate because we know how to make it. So it's like, well, let's dedicate it to them. So, and then the names, we just brainstorm. Brainstorm. We lay in bed at night till midnight sometimes thinking of beer names, and
That's cool.
So very family and local orientated.
pretty much.
That's awesome.
Everything's inspired locally by our friends and family. Yep.
That's
what we love.
What type of beer? I guess is a two-part question, but what type of beer is your favorite to brew, and which type of beer is your favorite to drink?
Favorite beer to brew would be our amber. And the reason for that is because it's so easy, and it's usually the days go without hiccups. I can get in and out of a brew day of amber in sometimes less than 6 hours.
All right, and is that what you have in the?
That's what I have right here. Yep, I just pulled this off the tank back here. Actually, we just finished up a batch of that.
Nice.
And then favorite to drink, I do like the amber, but my favorite to drink, I'd say, is the Norse Code Hazy.
Yeah.
We just brewed a batch of that yesterday, in fact, and I do like brewing that beer too because of the smell that it puts in the brewery, especially the day after when that fermentation starts kicking in. But there's some things about brew day with the Norse Code that can be a little troublesome. There's a lot of wheat in there, and there's some oats in there and stuff too that can help create problems.
Yeah, you were
certain
telling us off
stages,
camera a little bit about the adventures of brewing that beer. And
But
it definitely keeps you on your toes.
Yep, and maybe because there's so much labor involved in that beer, and there's some tricks to it, that maybe that's why I like to drink it the most, because it's like rewarding to finally get it when it's done and have a pint of it. So
yeah, that beer, the Norse Code, is probably one of my top favorite hazies.
Yeah.
I'm a big hazy fan.
Yeah.
And we had it on our review show, and I love that. It was so good. First time
it was
trying
excellent. It's probably one of my favorite hazies I've had.
Yeah, really good job on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. All right, so let's go and talk about what we have in our hands right now. We'll start with what you got. The amber.
Yeah, I got the
what
amber.
What are the stats on that one?
The stats: 5.3% alcohol. IBUs, I believe, are around 28. Oh, you're testing me here. I don't have them all memorized, but I believe around 28. It's just an classic English style amber. Some of the first beer that I made as a home brewer I like the darker, kind of more the Scottish style ales, going into kind of ambers too. And I've always just been a fan of the amber. The Full Sail amber was one of my favorites when I first started drinking craft beer back in the day.
Yeah, that was a good starter.
Yep.
For myself.
And so I always thought, I got to have an amber. Got to have an amber in our lineup. So that was the reason. This is the first amber we made, and it's been pretty successful. Very successful.
What's the name of this one?
It's called Archaic Amber.
Archaic Amber.
Yep.
All right.
And our friends up at Alenay actually feature this beer on several taps in the casino, and have
That's really cool.
have for the last 4 years or so.
Right on.
So
right
Like I said, I've seen your beers in Roseburg and downtown at Jackson Street Provisions. Shout out to Chad.
All right, you've got the stout.
Yeah, we just finished that one up. It's actually might be a little less carbonated than we want it to be, but he was adamant about having a pint of that today, so we went ahead and poured it in.
We all know Dave and his stouts.
This is our Starry Night Stout. Our Starry Night is an espresso stout. It's a sweet stout, technically, but there's a little bit of coffee brewed in there in the boil kettle, so it gives it a pretty heavy coffee presence.
Nice.
We also put caramel sauce in there, too, in the boil, so a lot of that sugar from the caramel sauce does get fermented out, but it leaves a little bit of a caramel presence behind.
First time I had this, first time I ever came here, I got a flight, and the stout was like, damn.
Yeah. It's one that you definitely don't want to drink too many of late at night. Because there is coffee in there. It'll keep you awake.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then we do put some. We put about a gallon of pure vanilla extract in at the very end of fermentation also, to kind of give it a little bit of a.
I'll have to try that later.
You
that
will.
Sounds fantastic.
Just smell that thing. Ooh. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm
It's still morning, right?
Yeah. It's still technically beer for breakfast.
Coffee's good all the time. So is beer though.
All right, and I have your lager. Very excited to try this. I have not had it yet. Beautiful color.
Thank you.
What's the story on the lager here?
So that's our straight up lager. It's a German style lager, so it's going to be a little more malt forward compared to like a traditional American style lager. So a little sweeter presence to it. We use all German malts in that. So like to say that it is a true German lager. it's definitely one of our more popular ones down at the tap house as well.
It's super smooth,
Yeah.
a little sweet in there. I really like that.
Yeah.
Wow, what's the percentage on this one?
That one's 5.1%, and I believe it's right around 15, maybe a little less than 15 IBUs.
Yeah,
12
it's
maybe.
smooth.
Yeah.
Perfect morning beer.
Just when you try this, save it for last.
That one too. That's a good
This is
one.
this is a palate record. You
Oh,
don't
is
want to
it?
drink that after this.
You won't be able to taste it.
The coffee's thick, man.
Yeah, so we're going to be down there at the tap house a little later, and we're kind of filming this episode a little bit backwards. Lost my. Anyways, so we're going to try pretty much everything down there.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to do that. So what brewery, or do you have a brewery that inspires you the most? Like before you started brewing, was there a brewery you're like, I really want to brew that style or the way they...
Yeah, you know, I've always looked up to Heathen Brewing. It's another local
Really?
brewery around here. Yeah.
Told ya.
We're actually planning to go stop by there today.
Yeah, Sonny was a great inspiration to me. He was a mentor too for me when I first started getting things going here with this brewery. Call on him a lot for advice and pointers. Actually worked with his brew team out at the brewery a couple times, 2 or 3 days, just to get a feel for what they liked and didn't like about their operation, just to kind of help me tailor this operation to be as efficient as possible. But yeah, I would say Heathen was my original inspiration in regards to like getting things going and really wanting to start doing this for a living. He also had originally his brewery was right there on his property, so kind of
cool.
real similar situation that we got going here.
Head on.
Yeah, you know, all the breweries, all our local breweries here, we're all really close. We're all good friends. I still chat with Sonny over there and the Heathen guys quite a bit, and we all lean on each other for help within the North Bank Brewers Alliance. I'm sure you've heard of that. Barrel Mountain Brewing, another great one. Those guys are awesome. Very inspirational to me. Troy Stegman, the owner of Barrel Mountain, he was another guy who was out here with me during the construction of the brewery, just kind of helping out, giving pointers, giving his 2 cents just to help me out.
Yeah,
So the support, the local support with the local breweries has just been incredible.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Really, they all inspire me, but those two stand out the most for sure.
Yeah, in our travels with the show, almost every single brewery we've talked to, they've all had a great connection with the other breweries in the area. It's really cool to hear the camaraderie that goes along with everybody, and they all work together to either help with something that needs help with, or they're just like, hey, what are you brewing today? Or, or hey, I need malt right now. What do you got?
That's we do
that
a lot.
You're in Vancouver area too, and I know it seems like it's growing more and more.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're moving up from Portland or what, but
California,
every time I
Portland,
pull up a map of breweries of Vancouver, it seems like there's a new one popping up.
New ones, yeah. I wouldn't say it's quite flooded yet. The market isn't quite flooded in our area. There's a lot of beer drinkers in our area. And we've got a lot of good beer to go around, and I don't feel like anybody's struggling. I don't think feel like there's a lot of competition.
Yeah,
I think it's more. There's a lot more camaraderie and collaboration than anything.
Good.
Everybody's working together to create some awesome beer.
Yeah, because we've lost a few down south.
Yeah, they've been.
Yeah, a couple of the ones that we've even done, Covered Bridge Brewing,
Really?
is no longer around, and Old 99 in Roseburg.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it is too bad.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for them.
Yeah, it has been.
Hopefully, the rest of them can kind of keep it rolling.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are still doing pretty good,
Yeah.
but there's a few out there that you don't know what's going on, because we filmed with them and everything was fine, and then like less than a year later,
Bam.
closed. I'm like, what happened?
Situations come
Dang it.
up, and
So please don't close Ridgefield.
Yeah,
okay?
please.
Anytime soon. We don't plan on it.
no, I like stopping here when I come up this way.
We'll keep the door open for you.
All right. So this is a fun question we like to ask, but how do you make your beer stand out?
Boy, that's a loaded question. Honestly, I mean, I don't make beer to necessarily because I want it to stand out. I make beer because, I like going down to the tap house and watching people drink it and watching people have a good time. And if I can put smiles on people's faces, that's success for me.
Yeah.
Just seeing the enjoyment that people get out of drinking beer. But to make it stand out, I mean, we've created a pretty cool can label. I don't know if you guys have seen our can labels.
Yeah.
So we tried to create a really cool can label that stands out in stores. We try to, the names that we come up with for our beers, we try to make those kind of catchy and kind of interesting for people to, you know, maybe to think twice about the name when they hear it the first time, hoping that that'll kind of stick in their mind and they'll want to come back and try it again. But you know, I mean, honestly, to answer your question, I don't know that there's anything that I specifically do to try to make our beer stand out. We just try to make good beer.
Yeah.
Quality beer.
And we want people to enjoy it. We want as many people to enjoy it as we can. We know there's people out there that just, they might not like a particular beer we make, but you know, that's the way it is. You can't please everybody.
Right.
But
as long as you have like the solid, you know, group of beers that everyone's got a flavor for one of them. And you do, like, this is a great light summertime style lager, and I love that. I love it when a craft brewery, like a microbrewery, does a light drinker that's smooth, easy to drink. I really love it, and this one is that one.
Cool.
I really like this one.
I
just took another drink. I was like, wow.
I just like good quality.
He loves dark,
Yeah.
mean, throat biting beers as Dave and his dark soul.
Yes.
So we kind of talked about your flagship beer, but which beer again do you kind of would you say is your guys' flagship beer?
I'd say the Norse Code Hazy. Definitely
Hazy.
the most popular. I don't know if it's the most popular in distribution-wise. The Amber seems to be the more popular one, going out to market in kegs. But in terms of down at the tap house, watching people drink and seeing what people order mostly, it's the Norse Code. We go through a lot more of that than anything. Yeah. And the Norse Code, the meaning behind Norse Code, it's a Norwegian thing. It's not only from the yeast itself, which is a Norwegian strain of yeast, but my family is from Norway. Sweet. So the naming of that, the Norse Code, was kind of a take on my family's lineage, along with the idea that we could actually get a yeast strain and use to ferment that beer that came from Norway also.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a little family history through there.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Norse, that's really sick.
And if you look at the logo, our brand logo, it's got kind of like a ship in there that's kind of representative of maybe like some kind of a Scandinavian styling. So the Norse Code, I mean, that maybe after all that being said, it maybe makes more sense why the Norse Code would be our flagship.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that plus hazy IPAs is kind of like the most popular style.
Very popular.
Yes, they've grown out. And
definitely.
Definitely my favorite. I love
my overall favorite is it's just a good old standard clean IPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With lots of IBUs.
Yeah. Hard to find those anymore, it seems like, right?
They are hard to find.
If I find a good one that's a little malty and about 100 IBUs, sold.
Yeah.
We just had one on the show not too long ago. 100 IBU beer from
Oh, boy.
the East
We've had a
Coast or
couple.
something. Yeah, it was pretty good. But yeah, Dave likes those green, mean, hoppy, which is great. I like a few too, but
I also like the barrel aging stuff too. So.
yeah, do you barrel age?
Yeah.
We've done one barrel aging beer. It was a dark Belgian strong.
Oh.
So we brewed the beer, fermented it out, and then we put it in we got some good single malt bourbon barrels from Heritage Distilling.
Oh, good old Heritage.
Yeah, so they hooked us up with
in
some.
love.
Yeah. Heritage is another one we need to get a hold of one of these days.
Yeah.
I like Heritage.
Good stuff. Yeah, they hooked us up with some barrels, some fresh barrels, and so we put that dark Belgian strong in those barrels for about 7 or 8 months, and then kegged it off of that, and it was very limited. We only had about 10 kegs. Sold most of it right out of the tap house, but it was super popular.
Kind of bad.
We actually had a customer come in, and toward the end when we were down to our last keg, and he'd been coming in quite often to have his barrel-aged dark Belgian strong. And he said, I just got myself a home system, and I would love to get a keg of this for my house. And I said, sorry, man, we're all out. He goes, I'll pay whatever you want. You name it, I'll pay whatever you want. So we actually did end up having one keg left, hidden, in the cooler back here at the brewery, and he convinced me to sell it to him. So,
You're like, all right.
so he's happy for a while anyway.
Yeah.
That's cool, though. What is your favorite beer? Either from your brewery or let's do both. Your favorite beer from yours and your favorite beer outside.
Yeah, favorite beer of my beer is Norse Code. That's one that I'll definitely go to.
Guys, try Norse Code. It's worth it.
It is.
And outside of it, oh boy. You know, I'm not a huge beer drinker, to be honest with you. I'm not. I used to be, but when I started brewing, I became more of a cider drinker.
I don't like beer, but I'm going to go brew it.
my favorite beer, and it's not being made anymore, but Bridgeport IPA, Bridgeport Brewing.
Yeah, the old
that used to be that was my go-to. I would always have some of that in the refrigerator. To be honest, I don't buy beer in the stores anymore. Obviously, I've got a pretty good supply of it around here.
Great supply.
So I don't necessarily have a favorite outside of my own.
It'd be sad if you had Keystone over there in the corner. He's like, ugh.
You know, a Rainier is good every once in a while.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah. On a hot day, a nice cold Rainier.
Yeah, that's true. A nice light, quick.
So what's your favorite cider then?
We've been pretty fond of the Russo. I wouldn't necessarily consider them to be a cider.
They're
a hard citrus, but we
Stay tuned.
we fell in love with Russo right after they got going here a year or two ago. Put them on tap at the tap house, and it was hard for Ariana and I not to go down to the tap house and drink all the Russo. So we weren't making a whole lot of money on the Russo at the time, but
that's great.
Yeah, but you know, Russo definitely, they've got a good selection. Tieton Cider Works has some awesome ciders as well. They've been kicking out some really good stuff. Locust Cider.
Yes.
Locally
Oh
here.
man, we had one.
That's one we want to check out.
Which one did we drink that was so incredibly good? It was like a coffee.
Oh yeah, their coffee one, and they had a. Was it the vanilla one?
Vanilla bean's a good one.
The vanilla bean. We
I like
tried
the
both
vanilla
those, and I could not believe how good.
No, the maple.
The maple.
The maple.
Was it a maple?
No, that wasn't theirs. That was
No.
8 Miles.
It was like a coffee,
whatever that was.
a coffee something, and it was
Yeah,
the
the
most
coffee one, though.
incredible thing I've ever drank.
Yeah.
I could not believe. I got it at Costco, and I was like, Locust Cider. Drank it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah, they
It was
put some
good.
good stuff out.
Yeah, so that's a great
Yeah,
one.
Locust is one that we want to check
Another
out.
one that we feature at the Tap House, Out West Ciders. They're up in Toledo, Washington.
Okay.
Fairly new. They do wine as well.
Okay.
But our good friend Frank Walsh, owner of Out West, is making some really good ciders.
Nice.
Really consistent. Doesn't do a lot of seasonal or one-offs on the cider. Just kind of sticks to his staples. But man, I'll tell you, all of his staples, we haven't had one that isn't good.
Nice.
That's really cool.
So is that something you think you're going to start dabbling with eventually?
You know, as of right now, I'm not interested in cider.
Yeah.
It's a totally different process.
It is
Yeah,
a
it
different
is.
process. But I told you that I don't drink a lot of beer, right?
That's
Yeah.
true.
As a brewer, and I enjoy cider. So if I started making cider, I'm afraid I would probably.
Well, then
stop
you might start
cider.
drinking your beer more.
That's true.
This side could be the cidery, and this side
Yeah.
you'll hire someone. Hey, go make the beer. I'm playing with my cider.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that note, what ideas do you have for some future beer? Do you have anything new you've got in the works that you're playing with? Do you have any ideas?
A couple things we're going to do this summer. Definitely we want to bring out a new West Coast IPA. Our American IPA, New World Order, is pretty solid, and it appeals to a lot of people. It's not super hop forward. It's a little bit more on the malty side. So it's kind of a malt forward IPA. But the one we want to create a really good hop forward West Coast style. So that's coming up soon. We are going to re-release a Meyer Lemon Hefeweizen that we did last summer or 2 summers ago. It was a beer that we dedicated to a cousin of ours who was going through some health problems, some cancer problems, and so we brewed the beer. All the proceeds we sent over to her to help with her medical bills. She actually passed away here a couple months ago, so we are going to make that beer again this summer and dedicate it to her.
That's cool.
So,
Wow.
So that'll be a Meyer Left. That one's called "I Love You More."
Okay.
That was kind of a little family backstory on that saying, but so yeah, we're excited for that. Of course, Jake wants us to make the Blueberry Stash year round. So we'll probably put that one back into production this summer too.
I forgot to ask you if that was like available, or if that was just like a one-off deal for a little bit.
It was supposed to be just a one-off, but then Jake wrote us pretty hard to do it again next year. So we did it again next year. Then we took a year off from it last year. This year, I think we'll probably revisit it this year.
We'll have to come up and try that one.
Well, I know one of our local breweries, and I won't name anybody, screwed up on a recipe when he was making it, and it was a big hit to the point where luckily he remembered the mess up, and he was able to duplicate it, and it's back out again.
That's good that he was able to recognize where the mistake was. A lot of times in brewing, you don't know where the mistake was.
You know who I'm talking about, buddy.
Have you ever had to dump a whole thing of beer because it was messed up?
Nope,
or is it
never had a one batch of beer go bad.
That's great.
That's awesome. Any of it. We don't hear that very often.
Yeah. I will say we've had a batch of beer turn out, a one-off that didn't turn out the way we thought it was going to turn out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or at least the way I thought it was going to turn out, and but 90% of the people that drank it enjoyed it anyways.
Right.
They loved it.
Yeah. Wasn't repulsive, so that's good.
Yeah.
They're like, what is this? It's different, but it's good.
Yeah. It was just a pale ale and nothing fancy, but I was trying to make a really awesome pale ale, and it just turned out to be a regular pale ale.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, it wasn't an awesome pale ale, but in everybody else's eyes, I was like, this is good.
All right.
So yeah, that's about
as long as the general public likes it.
That's right. Yep. I don't have to like it.
All right, final question. This is the great question we like to ask everybody. How much beer do you consume on a typical work day?
Or cider.
Or cider. We kind of already talked about this.
Well, I don't drink on the job. That's the correct answer here, right?
That's why he's never had to dump.
That's why we've never had to dump anything, right? No, I'll crack a beer open every now and then when I'm out here in the brewery. I'm not going to disclose how much I drink because it's not much.
That's good.
When I'm not on the job, that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I might have a couple beers when I'm out here brewing.
Perfect. Right on.
And down at the tap house, I don't necessarily work at the tap house very often. Every now and then I'll jump in behind the bar and help out or cover a shift here and there. But yeah, I'm not really interested in drinking before or after a shift. I'm usually ready to go home and
relax.
Maybe make a margarita or something instead.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having us here, man.
You bet.
Do you have any last words to share with everybody? Do you guys have social media they can follow you guys on?
We have social media, Instagram at Ridgefield Craft. We also have Facebook. We have a website, ridgefieldcraftbrewing.com.
I'll link all that below.
If you haven't been to Ridgefield, come check out Ridgefield in general. The tap house is right downtown. We have some great food options in downtown now. The food truck scene has really taken off.
Yeah.
I seen that walking in. I was like, whoa, they have a whole food truck court. This is pretty sweet.
Yeah, make sure you go downtown. There's a lot of new
downtown.
parts of Ridgefield, but the old historic downtown is still there and it's thriving and it's really fun. You can park and hit everything within a 2-block radius. So
yeah, we walked it this morning and it was, we got about 15 minutes from one end to the other. So
I love it.
It's definitely a good spot to come hang out and walk around for the day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, man. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Behind the Brew. Come out here to Ridgefield, stop by, tell them we sent you, and we will see you guys at the next location. Bye.
Cheers.
Next time.